All right. So can someone let me know if they can see the welcome?
Yes, I can.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. All righty. So we'll go ahead and get started. While we are tooling right along here. See if I can. Melissa, are you here yet? Let me go down and see if I see Melissa.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, you want to go over the certification so far? Do my
Yes.
members report?
So let me see if I can. So certifications, we have Susan Beckemeyer, Dana Bruton, and Ursula and Richard Kyle. And then you have another slide.
There we go.
And Carolyn and Gail and Carson. And then we have some cool milestones. I like it when we have multiple milestones.
Yeah.
Patty Thompson has 500 hours and Carson Stokes has 1,000 hours. And Dana Bruton has 250 hours.
Really neat because it's bronze, silver, and gold.
It is.
It's really cool.
So everybody clap. Hooray.
Everybody,
Yay.
yeah, congratulations.
I wanted to add a few things for when people are logging hours for WG Jones. If y'all are doing cleaning up out there, it goes under resource management. I think we had decided that that's the code that we wanted to make sure y'all put it under is resource management. Am I correct, Carolyn?
That is correct.
Okay, it's not going to be NPA. It's going to be resource management. The other thing is with field research, if anybody doesn't know the rules on the field research, let me know. I'm going to send the interns the field research guidance because I've already had some asking questions about it. But if anybody needs a refresher to learn that you can't do birding in your backyard or INAT in your backyard, you have to be attached to a program or a bird study at one of the parks. So if y'all have questions about that, of course, shoot me an email, or you haven't got the guidance on it, I'll be happy to send it to you. So I know we've had some people transfer also that may not have gotten the field research guidance.
Perfect.
And that's it for me right now.
Thank you so much, Melissa. It's so good to see you this afternoon.
You too.
Okay, next, I think we have, and I just heard from Brenda. She's not quite on yet. Okay, so let me go ahead and start this for her so we don't take up too much time. So the volunteer service projects, the very first one I want to talk about is this Saturday. And we do have a hike leader. What we'd like to do is send 2 people out at a time though, so that we don't have a hike leader out by herself. So if you're interested in sweeping, which is where you come up behind at the back end to make sure people don't get lost, are tag teaming the hike or whatever, please, please, please go to the calendar, go down onto April 16th, and there's a link there for you to sign up to be a hike leader. Now on our website, on our Facebook page, I created an event. So if you just want to be a participant, you can go sign up there to let us know how many people to expect. So one of the other things I wanted to point out is if you look up Lake Creek Preserve hiking entrance on Google Maps, you see where the red arrow is pointing? You can see that little road coming off of 2978 Sendero Ranch Drive. That does not show up if it's in the default mode. You only see it when you're looking at it from the satellite view. And a lot of people miss this. They miss that turn. They're not ready for it. So I wanted to show you on a satellite view that it's right before the Wood Forest Parkway turn is where that little road shoots off, and you just follow it down a little ways and parking is right there to the right. There's like this storage container that they keep their lawnmower, and I think they have a boat in there so they can go and pull stuff out of the little swampy areas. And so, and there's a little pollinator garden right there too, a little demonstration garden. So you will absolutely know where the trail starts. It's got a big signboard at the front that talks about, things that you might see. So if you get a chance to go out and hike, we would love to see you there. And like I said, we're looking for one more hike leader, and you can sign up to participate on our Facebook page. So it's the Heartwood TMN Facebook page, has an event for April 16th. Okay, next. Does anybody have any questions about that?
I'm checking my calendar, Carolyn. I think I can do that for this Saturday.
That'd be awesome, Darla.
Be a sweeper only.
We would love to have you as a sweeper. That would be fabulous.
Carolyn,
Yeah.
can you go back to that picture
Yeah.
really quick?
Okay.
Because I know that when we were out there for another hike,
Mhm.
some people got lost. And the easiest way to think about getting to that park is go down to the intersection of 1488, 2978
Mhm.
and go north. Turn
Correct.
right off of 1488 if you're coming from the Woodlands. Turn left if you're coming from the west, and follow that road. After you cross the big bridge on, it's basically 2978. We call it Fish Creek Parkway.
Yeah.
Wood Forest Parkway. After you go across the big bridge, the right into Lake Creek Preserve is right after the bridge. And see that bridge, you can't even see the bridge on this, but some people look at the Sendera Ranch and get confused because there is actually a Sendera Ranch housing development, and some people got confused and ended up going to the wrong place.
Oh, okay.
So it's basically off of 1488. You take the right there at 2978. It's Target, Kroger. It's a big intersection.
It is a big intersection. And when you head north on 2978, it says Fish Creek Parkway, and then here on the map, it's called Sendera Ranch Drive. So that, I think, adds to the confusion.
Yeah. But it's
So-
really kind of weird because people end up at Sendera Ranch, which is
Uh,
actually a housing subdivision
Mhm.
west of 2978 and 1488.
So if you do plug in Lake Creek Preserve hiking entrance into Google Maps, just remember to put it on satellite view instead of default view, because
Perfect.
default view does not show this turnoff at all.
Yeah,
Does not.
perfect.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you so much, Terry. Okay, so this is my favorite thing of the year. I get so excited about the City Nature Challenge. City Nature Challenge is all done on iNaturalist, and it's going to be at the end of this month, April 29th through May 2nd. You go out and take pictures of oh, here, hang on, let me make you a co-host. Hang on. Bobby just told me he needed to be a co-host. There we go. Okay, so you can let more people in. We're up to 49 people in so far. That's awesome, y'all. Okay, so click again. There we go. City Nature Challenge. Back to City Nature Challenge and why it's so much fun. The City Nature Challenge, you go out with iNaturalist. This is one of those things that Melissa was talking about. That's an actual project that you have to have in order to do, to be able to do anywhere. So you can go anywhere as City Nature Challenge and take pictures of plants, animals, insects, fungus, whatever. And you load that to iNaturalist. You make sure that you've signed on to the project City Nature Challenge. And during those days, April 29th through May 2nd, whatever you take pictures of are part of the City Nature Challenge. This originally started out with 2 cities. I'm trying to remember which ones they were now. I think San Francisco was one, and there was another city. And they picked a day where people would go in and load things to iNaturalist, and they were trying to decide who would be the better city, right? Well, other cities found out about it the next year, and now it's worldwide, it's global. It's exciting because the Houston metro area is in competition, and of course in Texas with Dallas and Austin and San Antonio, and it's by metro areas. All of our observations count for the Houston metro area. So we try to get to have the most observations. They count. Who's talking? Here we go. Okay, they try to count how many observations there are, and a city gets ranked number one with that. How many people participated, and they rank how many people get number one with that. And how many species were counted.
No.
So if you haven't used iNaturalist yet, please go on, download your iNaturalist, start playing with it now, get comfortable with it, and get ready for this City Nature Challenge. You're going to see people out there, you know, you thought Pokemon Go was the big deal. There's people out there all the time playing with this and getting their numbers in and their numbers up. So Melissa, you've got something you want to add?
Yes, you can also claim hours for identification during that time. So if you go onto iNaturalist and you identify other people's observations during that time period, you can count that as your hours.
So that May 3rd through May 8th,
Yes.
you aren't inputting anymore, but you're identifying what other people have input. So let's say that you're really good at the LBJs, little brown jobbies. They're those little birds that nobody can tell them apart except for certain people. And Jim Renfro, you know I'm talking about you. So when you see those little brown birds, you know, you can go in and just look at that and go, oh, that's absolutely, you know, whatever. Now, what's cool about iNaturalist, for those of you who haven't used it yet, is that there's a research grade. So once you have two people agree to the identification, then it's considered research grade. And they actually use the data from iNaturalist to make environmental decisions. You know, researchers use it. So it's very important over time how things change. You can actually see in iNaturalist, the longer that we keep that data going, the more valuable it'll be. So I think this is just way too much fun. I will be out there from dusk till dawn. No, dawn to dusk. Yeah, that's the way to do it. I don't think I'll be out there at dark. It's very, very fun. So I hope to see a bunch of you join that. As you add observations the very first days, you can look to see where you're ranked in your area. And it's fun to see. A lot of people will save all of their stuff till May 2nd and just load it all at one time. I like to get in early and start loading my stuff one at a time because it makes it look like, oh, I'm number 17 in the whole state. This is great. And then all of a sudden on May 2nd, I'm like number 250. So, but it's very fun.
So a couple questions.
Yeah, Jeff.
What geographical area are we talking about? Is it just our chapter's area?
No. As long as you're in what's considered the Houston metro area and you're doing your observations, let's say that you are in Austin for that time. It would count toward Austin's observations. Oh. So yeah, whatever you know, anywhere, Montgomery County, I think it's all the way up into Walker County. So what's considered Houston's footprint, Houston metro area is pretty large.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Good question, Jeff. Okay, so I know you're on, Denise. Do you want to give us the scoop about advanced training?
The only way I can do it is if my microphone is is active.
It's working. It's working, Denise. You got it.
Okay. All right. Well, first of all, Welcome to members in training. If this is your first chapter meeting, just want to say that. I'm going to go over this very quickly. So the first slide is just to let you know all of the different ways that you can get advanced training. Those of you who are members, you already know all these things, but for the interns, you may not know all of this. So remember that you can always get your advanced training off of TMN Tuesday. I've given you the website or the link to be able to get to that. The weekly Heartwood Bulletin has some advanced training opportunities in it. And then of course the newsletter, actually the bulletin has almost all of the advanced training opportunities, right, Carolyn? And the newsletter has some of them. It's not complete. The best way is to go to the calendar, I think, because it gives you a complete explanation of all of the advanced training opportunities. And then lastly, I just say that on that slide that the VMS codes to log in your AT hours are located at the bottom of each AT listing on the calendar. What you doing, Carolyn?
Somebody showed up at my front door and I'm like, okay, I gotta stop this. Hold on, let me start it from here. Let's do it. Silly me. Here we go. And one more.
Now we're through with that one. We can go to the next one.
Next one. There we go. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. So go through these just real quickly. A lot of you already know about Birding for Fun. It's an 8-week series. We have 2 sessions left. It is a Zoom series, and the 2 sessions left are April the 18th, which is the spring migration series, and they're going to talk about migration trends and some different species. And then on April the 25th, understanding plumage variations, and it is the last one. That's pretty self-explanatory about the learning about plumage variations, which I think would be pretty interesting. Also on Monday is Creekside Birding. You're going to meet at 7:30 at the Creekside West Trailhead if this is something that you would like to do. And JoJo says it usually ends about 10 o'clock in the morning.
Second one is AM.
I'm sorry? Hello? Hello? So be there at 7:30, ends about 10-ish, and you need to go into the website and look more about it because there's information on what to bring and some waivers that need to be signed. The next slide is about sneaky snakes. Where is that slide? Yeah, there it is. This is April the 20th, and let me just say, if you're running low on getting your AT hours, there are 3 really good ones on April the 20th. This is one of them, sneaky snakes, Brazos River water snakes, endemic to the Brazos River watershed, designated as threatened by Texas Parks and Wildlife. And you do have to register for this one. There's no fee, but you do have to register for it. And I think it would be very interesting. Next, on the 20th, we have the Texas Waters webinar. And this one is ecosystem services in the greater Houston region. It's a case study analysis and recommendations for policy initiatives. And on this one, if you're trying to get your Texas Water Specialist accreditation, you can do that. If you don't want to do the Texas Water certification, you don't have to. You can still attend this. You can still watch it. Also on the 20th, we have Gardening for Wildlife from 7 to 8:30 with Abby Ince. Is it Ince?
Ince. That's correct.
Hendrickson. Now I've seen her present, and she is fabulous. Most all of you know that. The newcomers may not have seen her, but trust me, you really need to watch this because it's going to be fun. She makes it so much fun, and it's so interesting. She's going to speak on topics like small-scale habitat management, building hummingbird habitats, and encouraging wildlife to find a home. she is just truly a very knowledgeable speaker. It is in person. If you want to go, it's a hybrid. So if you want to go in person, you go to the Big Stone Lodge at Dennis Johnson County Park at 6:30 for snacks and socialization. And then the program starts at 7. If you don't want to do that, you can link on Zoom. And again, that's on the calendar. You can just go to that link. The last bunch, finally, we get off of the 20th. So there were 3 really good ones on the 20th. And then the 21st is a walk in the woods. This is a fun thing. It's a Zoom presentation by Dr. Lena Boot. I love her name. I remember Betty Boot back in the day. So I love Lena Boot. Dr. Lena Boot, and she's going to discuss how our region has been influenced through millennia by shifting rivers, oceans, climate, and volcanoes. She will discuss the extraordinary plants, wildlife, and geography of East Texas, and registration is required for this one also. We have seasonal window of opportunity for monarchs on April the 26th at 1 o'clock. Now, this one was an iffy one for me to approve. I did approve it, even though it is a case study of milkweed monarch interactions in the California area. I'm assured that much of the information about climatic and abiotic influences we could find useful in our region. So I went ahead and approved it for that reason. I hope we're not disappointed. So I'd love some feedback on that. And then lastly, we have, this one was just entered, Becoming a Monarch Champion. This is on April the 28th from 7 to 8 o'clock. It is speaker Amber Barnes, Sustainable Landscape Education Specialist for the Woodlands Township Environmental Services Department. And she's going to discuss the plight of the monarch, how the township has achieved Monarch Champion designation, upcoming conservation projects, and how residents can become Monarch Champions. So I think that all sounds pretty interesting.
Denise,
Yes.
are these all, I guess I'll just ask specifically on the Monarch Champion, is that, where do I find where that's located in the link? Is that on?
Well, you mean what do you mean?
How do I find out where that's going to be held or how it's going to be held and join that?
Okay, go to the calendar,
Okay.
right, and click on that particular function.
Okay.
It has a link on the calendar.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Tell me if you cannot find it. Are you looking for it now?
No, I'm just watching this. Let me ask you one other question. I took again, for advanced training, I'm assuming you can answer this question. I took the Introduction to Native Landscapes by the Native Plant Society of Texas.
Yeah.
At level 1.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out, how do I find where level 2, 3, 4 are?
Native Plants of Texas. Wouldn't that be on NPSOT website?
Yeah,
But I don't know that
landscaping.
I
the
don't know that
landscaping
they've
training?
done it yet. I don't know that.
Yeah, they don't have this class 2 yet. They're
Yeah.
still on 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that answers my question then.
Yeah,
I
we're
couldn't
waiting.
find it.
Well, as soon as we get information on the second class, we will post it.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you. Yep. Thank you.
All right. And again, if you cannot, I'm looking at the information on the Woodlands Green, who is sponsoring the Becoming a Monarch Champion. It says access the meeting by clicking on the following address. So it is a Zoom meeting at 7 o'clock in the evening, and you can just click on that link to join the Zoom meeting. Was that your question?
Yes. Okay. I didn't know if it was. Yeah, I just didn't know if it was Zoom or not Zoom or where it was. I just didn't know.
Yeah.
So,
Yes,
okay.
it is Zoom, and you can find that again. Go to that calendar, and it should have the link on the calendar.
Great.
And
Thank you.
Jeff, one of the things you need to be aware of also is that when you're looking for things like this, some of these require advanced registration. So it's always important to check the calendar to see, and if there are any requirements to register in advance, the links will be there on the calendar. So whatever you find, you know, the specifics about each of these, always go to that calendar and look to see if there are links that you need to be aware of, okay?
And fees. Sometimes there are fees associated with these. You know, we like to have it where there are no fees, but sometimes there are. So you just need to be aware of that.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Denise.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I know all of you have seen this slide already because I was having trouble with my keyboard. I had to get a new keyboard and I had to raise up my laptop because I was having neck problems, and I didn't realize it was because I'm sitting funny when I look at my laptop. So new equipment required me to go through the entire slideshow 4 times for your entertainment. So here we are with Heartwood Reads. We're going to start a new book. It's The Book of Hope by Jane Goodall. What we do is we read the book, and then we get together on May 19th via Zoom, and we will discuss the book at 7 o'clock on May 19th. Gives you plenty of time to read the book. We have, we look for reader's guides. They have questions, and we talk about the questions and things like that. Reading the book does not count for advanced training hours. The discussion does. So if you're curious about what Jane Goodall has to say and you want to read it, this is the perfect opportunity to do that. And then our discussion usually runs from about an hour to an hour and a half, and you can get advanced training hours for that. And I just added that to the calendar today. And, okay. So I heard from Terry today. She is out right now doing a program, so she wasn't able to join us. She has added some Texas Waters specialists. There's a water lab that's coming up on April the 23rd. That's on the calendar also. The registration link is on the calendar. If you're interested in becoming a Texas water specialist, this is a great opportunity to get your feet wet, pun intended. So if you have any questions about it, Terry's email address is on the calendar also, and she would be happy to help you with this. For those of you who aren't aware, there are the Woodlands Environmental Services has been granted the opportunity to teach 9th through 12th graders the Texas Water Specialist program. So this is joint with the high school and with people who are interested, adults who are interested in taking the water lab. Melissa, what would you like to add to that?
I would like them to let me know if they want to be a Texas water specialist, because there is a special box I have to click on VMS so they can see the Texas water specialist box on their VMS.
Perfect.
So what happens there, anytime that y'all go do stuff with Terry and you go under, it may be resource management, the Woodlands, when you click on that, once I click on my side, you will get the Texas water box on your side. But that doesn't mean that everything you do gets a Texas water box. So if you have questions about things that you do and you want to know if that counts, just shoot me an email and I'll be happy to answer that. But I also just email me and I'll add you to that list. I am also making Terry a list for her new interns.
Okay.
So
Melissa,
yes.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I volunteered this past weekend at the Friends of Texas Wildlife.
Yeah.
In the afternoon, and that was for our Heartwood booth. I noticed when I went to log my hours that it had a Texas water specialist box. Is that correct?
Yes, but you don't claim it under that. It doesn't count for public outreach for Texas, Friends of Texas Wildlife.
Well, I clicked the box. Should that be?
That will be fixed.
That was
Yeah.
confusing to me.
Yeah, don't click the box unless it's water related. So water related is that you're out teaching people about Texas watersheds, or like some of y'all were handing out the little dog poop bags and teaching them, to pick up their poop so it doesn't get in the waterway. Working with the kids with
So
Terry's project.
So to drive the point home, it just because it has a box doesn't mean you should click the box if it's not water related, correct?
Correct.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good question, Denise. Excellent. Thanks so much, Melissa. So the VMS code for this, I put in the calendar as AT Texas Water Specialist training. Is that correct, Melissa?
Is that for tonight or for Terry?
That's for Terry's.
For Terry, it depends. If it's resource management, when they were going out and putting the storm drain stuff in, that's
Right.
resource management, Woodlands Township. And then
Right.
you click Texas Water's box.
For this water lab that she's training people, I think
If it's a training, then it may be under AT
yeah.
Texas Waters, not, AT Texas Waters.
Now, if it has AT Texas Waters that they're putting, does it still have the little box?
No, it will not have the little box.
Got it.
Well, and there's also, I believe she may be asking for volunteers to help with the water lab, in which case it would be volunteer hours.
And
Right?
Yes.
that would be DO for direct outreach,
Yes.
right?
And when that comes up, if you were helping with that water lab and you're going to be a Texas water specialist, you are, click the box at the bottom, the Texas Waters box.
Right. Yeah, because you can recertify with 10 hours of
Yes,
volunteer work.
right. You only
So that
need,
would count toward volunteer work if you're volunteering for that water lab
yes.
instead
And
of
you
training.
need 10 hours of water related stuff. You're doing your weather monitoring, if anybody's doing Coco Raws, and then getting out and, really teaching people about water.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm still learning about water stuff and how it shows up in the VMS.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Is the calendar year different for the water specialist?
Not anymore, I don't think.
Not anymore. Melissa Alderson changed it, so it is yearly now, just like
Yeah.
our stuff from January to December. And I know that confused a lot of people because it was October to August, and that has been fixed now.
So whatever I did last year, it's gone now.
Yes, it started over in January.
Rats. Okay. Okay.
Who is this? I'm sorry, I can't see who's talking.
Lisa Klepfer.
Okay. Well, Lisa, did you email me about that so I can go back and check your account?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Now, Melissa's email is heartwoodmembers@gmail.com. So if you need email addresses for any of the board members, we are all in the hidden portion of the website, the password protected portion. It's not hidden, it's there. It's just password protected. It's got a gate and a lock. So if you need that password so you can get in and see email addresses or look at the directory, then just let me know. And I will be happy to send that to you, okay? Let's see. And this is very exciting. NPSOT, Pines and Prairies chapter. Many of our members are members of NPSOT, also are helping with this sale that's going to take place on Saturday the 23rd at New World Botanical. If you are a member of NPSOT, you get to go to the pre-sale on that Friday. So this will give you a little extra reason to join the Native Plant Society of Texas, our very own Pines and Prairies chapter. So if you were not able to get all of your native plants at the Mercer plant sale recently, this is a great place to go and get some plants. And now we're ready for our speaker. So Sharon, you want to take over?
Sure. That's me. Okay. Am I on?
You are on. I can hear you.
Okay, I'm on it. Okay, tonight we have Veronica Hawk speaking to us, and here's a little bit about her. She's been a volunteer with the Bernie chapter of Native Plant Society of Texas since 2008. And during that time, she held the position of Rescue Committee Coordinator and served as the Vice President of Programs, Secretary and President for that chapter. Veronica helps to teach the NPSOT Native Landscape Certification Program and helps the Pollinator Garden Assistance and Recognition Program. Since 2017, Veronica has maintained certification by the Texas Master Naturalist Program, one of us, Hill Country chapter. Prior to moving to Texas, she volunteered for the Georgia Native Plant Society as a plant rescue coordinator, 2000 to 2008. Volunteered at the Georgia Perimeter College Native Plant Garden and graduated from the Georgia Master Naturalist Program in 2006. Veronica is currently a gardener in Bulverde, Texas, where she has kept bees below sideline since 2018. So let's hear what she has to share with us. Welcome, Veronica.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it. I need to share my screen.
Yes.
There.
Have you got it?
I have it. And
Awesome.
we are.
Perfect. I can see that.
Let's see. It's not full screen, but we can
Not
see.
yet.
Not yet. Yep. Okay.
There we go.
Just gotta press all the buttons.
Right. I gotta find the buttons underneath all the little windows and whatnot.
Uh-huh.
So I need to find out where I can start my slideshow. There we are. All right. So I'm going to switch my slides. Good. That's working. Yeah, we're all going on. All right. Well, thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. I want to really talk about the Native Plant Society a little bit more than Master Naturalist tonight, because native plants are a subspecialty of the Master Naturalists. You all have really great programs. I was looking at your website, and you people are busy. That's great. But what we all are a part of is protection and utilization of native plants and their habitats. And we encourage a lot of things, both as Native Plant Society members and as Master Naturalists. So what we want to do is kind of share our thoughts and how we do that, how we go about doing this. My particular program was created for beekeepers, and it was really surprising that they feed their bees with flowers, yet they don't know what those flowers are. So I thought I would, since you guys all know this stuff, I thought I'd describe how the Native Plant Society and Master Naturalists can partner and teach more effectively. A little program that we created out here. I know you guys are north of Houston, and I think I'm going to be in your neck of the woods in June in Denton, and I'm going to give this presentation, or rather the beekeepers presentation, at the clinic they're having over the summer. So maybe I'll see some of the places that you guys all hang out at. So with that, we talk a lot about pollinator decline. You know, there's a lot of things that we have to explain, and that is how to coexist with pollinators and nature, and the balance of like what we have, our cultural needs, with habitat for wildlife, and that makes it a healthy ecosystem. And why is that? And generally it's because the specialized relationship between native plants and their pollinators, because they evolved together. And we all know about monarchs and their situation. It is a really effective way to tell people that what they plant matters, and how they take care of their yard really does matter. And if they have little divots taken out of their redbud, it's cool, because what they're doing is helping out leafcutter bees, you know? So we need to kind of teach all these ways that we can express the importance of how people take care of their property. It's really important. So they created, the Native Plant Society created the Native Landscape Certification Program. And this program was created by the steering committee for all 35 chapters of the Native Plant Society. And they give it to us and we tweak it because native plants are all what? Local. And we have to explain to people where they actually live and that the sun always rises in the east. No, the sun always rises in the morning. So anyway, you know, we have to explain some of these things, and we have to go through each person's kind of mental picture of where they live. So we go through regional conditions, right? And we say, for where we live in Boerne, we say we live halfway between Houston, where you can grow rice, and West Texas, where there's, and beyond, where there's no less than three different deserts. So we could get water from either side. We could get heat from either side or cold from either way. So it's a really important discussion and detailed discussion about regional conditions. We go through a site assessment, the site design in level 2, which is a lot more specific for a smaller property. For larger properties, it's a little easier because you have a clear identification what you want to do with your property. And then we go through installation and maintenance in level 3. And we talk about installing a tree properly. We talk about how to maintain a native garden because they do have to be maintained. I mean, I'd love to live where this picture was taken, and I don't, unfortunately, but we can achieve that by planning, right? So level 4 is just out. It is just now available in some places, and it is a stewardship class. So it's one of these classes that you can take if you are involved with, maybe you know of a property that is being held in, I'm not going to think of the word now. Mitigation, you know, in perpetuity, conservation easement, sorry, conservation easement. So if you know of a property like that and you want it protected even further beyond taxation, you want to make it a nature area, this is really going to be a good class for you. It is just now available. I'm working on developing for the Boerne chapter, and it's going to be about the Cibolo Nature Center where we do a lot of our work. You know, you guys have your nature centers and so forth. So level 4 is not going to cover native plant identification, but in each of the first 3 levels, we cover 45 natives and 5 exotic invasives. And these particular, you can look up the schedule for these particular classes on NPSOT.org under education, and it will show you who, which chapters are putting it on and how to register for them. And one thing is that you just have to know that you want to take the class that in a place that has similar soil profiles as you do, and that's the ecoregions. And it's simply about, you know, native plants grow in native soil. So you want to go somewhere where you're going to learn about your particular area. I know, in fact, I don't even know. You guys have acid soil or alkaline soil? You know, so like if I learn plants in Atlanta where they have acid soil, I come out here to Boerne and it is so alkaline that you wonder why certain nurseries will sell blueberries. You know, blueberries have to grow in acid soil. But anyway, it's all local and it's all by volunteers as well. You know, so sometimes you don't get level 2. And sometimes you get level 3 6 times before you get level 2. I'm sorry about that, but that's all done by volunteers. And, you know, basically, we need more volunteers because you need to take it to teach it. And it's a certifiable program, so you can put it on your business card if you want. You have to take a test, though, unfortunately. So we talk about in the first level, we talk about what native plants can do for you. And of course, we always talk about Dr. Doug Talmy. I think you guys know him, professor of entomology, good guy. And we really like him because most of this, we agree with most of what he says, and he agrees with most of what we say in the Native Landscape Certification Program. But if you don't know him and you want to jumpstart your education, all you've got to do is go on YouTube, because groups like ours and yours put his presentation on YouTube. And it's really wonderful. If you want to get right to the point, start March 3rd, 2020, and then pick up right after that by date, whatever comes next, because he put these 3 books out, Bringing Nature Home, way back when, and then The Nature of Oaks in 2021. So he talks a lot about keystone species, and we talk a lot about identification of species. So we are simpatico, I think the word is. I really like what he says, because he tells people that just they live downtown or in suburbia, and then they just buy property out here where we all live. And he tells them that nature isn't important, it's essential. And that nowadays we don't have enough property to take care of all the pollinators that we need and rely on. And that's what we talk about. And we want people to move from what they have to what they could have. What they did is what we call conventional development. This is, we go through all the building process and all that, so they understand where it came from. But what we do nowadays is we clear cuts because it's easier. And we want people to, and the other thing is we take out these great big plant communities, and then you know what we put in? Nothing. We put in pollinator deserts, food deserts, with 1 tree, turf grass, and foundation plants. And you know, we can't survive this way if we keep doing this, right? So what we want to do is we want to teach people about sustainable landscapes and keeping native plants while you can for their communities. You reduce compaction like they have in the left side there, and building gardens and wildscapes. And that's what you guys do all day long, especially at your nature centers and places like that. But this is my neighborhood over here on the left. See that property on the top left corner? That is 2 or 3 acres of mowed. You know, it's a bunch of native grasses, but if you're a pollinator, you know, you're easy pickings for a hawk, right? Or anything else that eats pollinators, which is everything, by the way. And then you turn around and go across the street, and there's another acre. So if you're a pollinator, you're really in trouble. That's a food desert, right? But here's what you can do. It's called functional. This house on the right is owned by Suzanne. She lives in Bernie, and she replaced her lawn with Engelmann daisy. You can see the yellow, and bluebonnets, of course. And it's densely planted. And she even took care of the limited site distance around the corner. So she didn't grow plants that are, 14 feet tall right on the corner. She just picked lower plants that don't grow tall enough. And that really works out well for neighborhoods. You see beyond the picture on the corner, you see that picture on the corner? Beyond that, you can see your neighbors, And her neighbors feel like the emerald green carpet in the front yard is controlling nature, And I gotta tell you, Suzanne has controlled nature quite well, in my opinion. And for her effort, she has seen cardinals nesting in her yard. She's watched cedar waxwing flocks come down and clean off all the berries of her possum hawk. It's fabulous, and she really deserves her accolades. Instead, she got summons. All she's got to do is give them a list of her native plants. So there you have that. Fortunately, so anyway, this is the average garden, right? We have to teach people about what invasives really are, that a weed is a plant out of place. But invasives are more than just a plant that, well, it's just over there and it's not hurting anyone. It is. An invasive plant is always going to be a non-native alien, and it's always going to fit the criteria that its introduction has caused economic harm. And you all in this group know what I'm talking about. You all have been privy to invasive plant removal. That takes time, that takes muscle, and it takes people to actually go out and do it. And a lot of the folks that don't believe that Chase Tree down there on your right-hand side is, they think it's a Texas native. I mean, they think it's a Texas native, of course. They think it's a superstar, and it's not. It's not if you live in a riparian area where all those seeds have collected, grown up, and outcompeted every single other thing. And it's an actual monoculture. So that's what we want to avoid. So how do you find out what the plants are, right? And that really is the bottom line. We want to encourage all these communities to follow a stewardship attitude in their properties. You know, we give them those lines, leave the leaves, and reduce your lawn size by just half. It's no big deal. You can have a moat around your house. You want to protect the areas under oaks and stuff like that. And ultimately, the people who care about the properties need to learn about natives. So I send them to nature centers and to go to plant sales, because all these folks they really understand the plants and what should be there and what could be trouble. You know, Mexican feathergrass is one of them. It could be here, it's native to South Texas, but you know what? You give it too much water and it's everywhere. So they can give you this hands-on, real, really timely information. And they're really smart people. They are, because they're growers too. That helps. So you can also attend the Native Landscape Certification Program, and you are certified then. But what we did was we created the Pollinator Garden Assistance and Recognition Program. And I want y'all to, well, I guess you can't really see that sign. I didn't have a picture of the sign, I'm sorry, but this is what we did. The Pollinator Garden Assistance and Recognition Program is a partnership of 3 chapters of NPSOT, the Kerrville chapter, Fredericksburg, and Boerne, in 10 counties. It's available in 10 counties around Kerrville, Kerr County, actually. And we got together and made this program in a partnership with the Hill Country Master Naturalist chapter. So there's the four groups, and we all get together, and our goals were to promote creation of small plot native pollinator gardens. And this way we could go out to people's house with education and assist them and recognize them with a sign for those who meet these criteria that we created. This will help to recruit new members, and for not only the Master Naturalists, but for the Native Plant Society, because they'll realize that they need to learn new plants as they come into their yard properties, or as they decide what it is they want to plant. And this is a file from, oh, there we go. This is from my bee talk, and I wanted to show it because you know this guy. This is flameleaf sumac. Look at all the bees. I mean, it is crazy, slap full of, I learned that in Georgia, of bees all over these plants. I mean, it's crazy. But now we know, because we're all really smart, that flameleaf sumac blooms in June and July, and nothing else does. And we also know, consequently, you know, furthermore, that plants don't bloom when we have extended 100-degree temperatures. So, for example, we had 12 days of 100 degrees about 3 years ago, and all these flowers, all the buds just fell off the plants. You know, that's a real hurt for pollinators. They need this right in June, July, because lots of the spring ephemerals won't bloom like all year. Like these behind me at Willow City, those are all Coreopsis and the other, I don't know if I can say this, DYCs. The last one is, the second one is yellow, and the last one is composites, and you can figure out what D stands for. Okay, so onward. And this plant will also give you fall color. So, you know, it's got everything. So we go out to people's property and we talk about where a good pollinator garden would be. You could probably tell that this is in the morning. You know, the light just shows that. But a lot of people don't know that in the morning, the sun comes up in the east, and that area would probably have permanent western shade. Why? Because they have a house there, you know? So we talk about all these details with people so that they understand where they came from, or where they can put their pollinator garden and so on. And we discuss it in detail. So we discuss things like choosing native plants and wildlife habitat that will support the things that they're supposed to support. You all know, of course, because you're devotees of Doug Tellamy, who did the research, that it takes to raise a clutch of 4 chickadees from hatch to fledge, it takes 6,000 to 9,000 caterpillars or worms. So we're not talking about just a little bit. We're talking about a lot of stuff that we have to coexist with, right? We also know that that hummingbird there is probably feeding her chick spiders and all the stuff that she'll find in ball moss, you know, and up there, like mosquitoes too. You know, I would rather have a hummingbird baby as my mosquito catcher than poisons in my water. So we want to influence people and tell them that bugs are not bothersome. They are bird food, right? So we're going to talk about also time and tell them how to plant their garden so they have something blooming all year long. And a big thing that people don't realize, they clean out under their oak moss, but they're also cleaning out frostweed, which is a huge, I mean, the blooms are this big, and it's a huge pollinator feeder in the fall. There's not much that blooms in the fall, but this is one really good one. And we'll meet some of those later as well. So we want to encourage the year-round planting, year-round blooming of plants. We also want to remind people that they want to live with these bugs and little mammals and amphibians. It's a really important thing to say, to tell people that we can find a way to have compatible cultural needs, their roads and their sidewalks and their this and that fences and electrical power lines and whatnot, and still leave a tree that has holes in it for woodpeckers and for everything else. So we talk about really specific stuff like weeding around the house, leaving dandelions. Yeah, they're not native, you're right. But they do bloom in the very early spring, one of the first to bloom, and they have never completely covered up a property so that nothing else grows. Put 2 things together in the same location and you're doing fine. We want to talk about things like integrated pest management. Like I said, wasps are carnivores. They eat the worms. They have a balance going on that we are really interrupting. So why not leave the wasps, like the red wasps, out in your back 40, you know, back on the far side of your garage or whatever it is. You can remove them from your front doorway, that's fine, but leave some of them anyway. So we talk about how to do that and how to protect and plant in those micro habitats, like underneath an oak motte, for example. You can take advantage of a lot of those things very easily by design. That's how that works. It's a functional habitat, right? So do you think there's pollinators in each of those pictures? Probably. And your pollinator gardens are going to feed them. So yeah, there's a lot of them, and they are useful to the way pollinators grow. You know, they have cyclic, whatever you say, populations. So they have here lots of yellow composites right in the middle that pollinators will focus on, and that's how they survive. You can also make the natives socially acceptable by doing this. If you put a rain garden right in an area that has, you know, I don't know if they usurped the handicapped ramp here. I don't think they did. My guess is that if they didn't. But if they put a pollinator garden in this rain garden at the bottom left-hand corner, and they put the handicap ramp somewhere else, which you got to do, they're helping the entire community get water into the down into the soil, and instead of having it run off, and etc. So it's all about design. You can have a very formal garden. using native plants. When I say wildscape, it doesn't mean mayhem. I'm not telling you that you have to have something that is so out of control that you could hide a cougar, mountain lion, something like that, you know? No, that's not what we're doing here. We're trying to teach people that they can plant with intention in mind. And that's what we do. We plant intentionally with the 3Ds. I don't know if you've heard about that. You plant mindfully with diversity, durability, meaning through the seasons, and density. And that pollinator garden shows you the density. And that way rain can't, you know, damage the soil when it comes down super hard. And I'm sorry, who had hail yesterday? Did you guys have hail? Lots of people did. And I can't imagine what hail does to soil that has been dried up for 4 months. Well, that's what happened here. It hasn't rained here since December. So we want to remember to things like, we go in and talk to people about planting in fall. We talk about how to use swales and berms to channel water and to keep water on your property. We talk to them about installation and sources of plants. Sharing is always a good thing. Soils and bed preparation. What does compost actually mean? You know, do you realize that native plants have been amending their own soil for years? Well, why not use that? It's cheap, man. I'll tell you, that's a good thing. Native plant maintenance. We talk about pruning and lion tailing. Ever heard of that? Undesirable plant removal. You can't remove undesirables unless you know what they are. And a lot of times people wait and they wait. And are you sure that's an invasive? Are you sure that's a ligustrum? And now it's 5 feet tall and you can't pull it out. You have to cut it and paint it with herbicide. So we'll show you how to do that, but we will ask you not to do it ever until you have to. And then we'll talk about irrigation and even hiring a company, which is kind of cool. Cut to the chase there. For our PGARP, our Pollinator Garden Assistance and Recognition Program, we have all this criteria that we created and wrote down and all that stuff. This is due to the absolutely spearheading by Pam Leonard, the Colemans, we've unfortunately just lost them to the state of New Mexico. They retired. And here in Bernie, to Rachel Thompson. She really spearheaded this. She did a really great job, and you guys might have heard about this because she won some money from the Master Naturalist at the state symposium a couple of years back. So that's what this program is all about, if you remember that. And we also, when we go visiting people, we also create reports. And I blame myself. And I wrote reports because I took notes while I was with people. They'd go, oh my God, I need to write this down. So I wrote it down for them. And then they'd say stuff like, how do you spell Onothera? I don't even really know. Okay, so I just cut to the chase and wrote it down for them. And then I go home and type it up. And then in so doing, I get to do research and I get to use things like the Wildflower Center's database. You know, if you go and look at their database that allows you to filter, you can get a list of plants specifically for your yard. It's pretty cool, very useful. So, like I said, everything boils down to identification. Did you guys know that at the top left there, mimosa? I don't know if you guys get this mimosa, but this is Mimosa Borealis. It's not silk tree, that's the Asian tree mimosa, but this particular plant will attract 27 butterflies and moths. The snow on the mountain at the bottom left will attract 16 species of butterflies and moths, and bees as well. And unfortunately, the beekeepers say, we hate that stuff because it makes our honey better. So you need diversity, and so do the bees. And on the right there, you have shrubby boneset in the fall, good fall bloomer, and it's just slapped full of queen butterflies there. It's a really great plant. It also attracts red admirals, Texas crescent spots, and hair streak butterflies. Good plants. You need to know what you got here, right? And a lot of people cleared out that agarita because it hurts when it stabs me. Oh, it's terrible. Well, guess what? You can use that functionally. Why not plant it where people walk and you don't want them to walk? Or how about under your daughter's a bedroom window, you know? Thinking now, we're thinking about functional design, right? And in the meantime, it goes to bloom first very early in the year for the bees and butterflies. It also provides great berries for jams and delicious, delicious wine. So we also have milkweeds. We know this relationship with our monarch friends, but we have milkweeds for the full sun, and we have milkweeds for the full shade. That Texas milkweed really likes the full shade, woodland areas. The Texas the Antelope Horns milkweed, that plant is a real nectar provider. And if you ever if you ever wanted to photograph pollinators, that's the one to choose. It has bunches of flower blooms, and it also has a whole lot of nectar. And I might also mention at this point in time that one of the problems with bees, honeybees, first of all, I'm going to say it, honeybees are non-native. Are they invasive? Well, that's another story, and we'll leave that for the next time. But I will say that a lot of people don't realize that honeybees need the same thing everybody needs, pollen and for protein and nectar for carbohydrates. And if you know those two things, you too could be a beekeeper. No, but more importantly, they also need other things like trace elements. They need lipids, you know, fats. Where are you going to get fats off a plant? Well, plants have plenty of fats if you go in the right place. And so they do really well with a diversity of food. And that has been their problem. They didn't have a diversity of food because we keep mowing it down. So any decline in pollinators is strictly because there's a decline in flowers, and there should never be a decline in flowers. We should have flowers all around us. We have plenty of them, like dewberry, prairie verbena, blazing star, and blue-eyed grass. And there's a lot of groups like ours, Master Naturalists, and all the groups that you guys belong to and help that will provide advertising, basically, and information about how to keep a very healthy ecosystem where we live, right in the location we live. It's also local botanical gardens and the nature centers, and schools will do it, certified schoolyard habitats. There's a lot of different places, state extension and local universities. And the more we share this knowledge, and I gotta tell you guys, I hate Zoom too, just like everybody else. You know why? Because I should be outside planting. But more importantly, Zoom has given me a lot of places to go and learn more. If I realize, I just have to realize that my plants are local fellas. They gotta live here. I should not try to plant pansies in May. That was my first lesson 30 years ago. I planted pansies in May, and I got 7 days in Atlanta, and I got 7 days, and everybody else got 7 months. New to this area? Yeah, I was from the north. Yeah, that was me. So anyway, if we all steward these properties from degraded developments and farmlands or overgrazed areas to healthy wildlife habitat, we'll have more nutritious diet for them and a better chance of survival for them. So this is our little rack card we created there. And you do get you can get a sign. Like I said, I forgot to take a picture of the sign that you can hang in the front of your yard. So thanks for sticking around with me. And these are some of the references that I mentioned. I didn't specifically talk about them, but I don't know if you guys have seen this, the Ohio State University series. Tending Nature was this year in the spring, and they are right now doing a bumblebee short course. They've had Doug Tallamy speak this year and last year, and all of their talks are online at this osu.edu/tending nature. You can look around there and see all their recordings. It's a really cool site. And you know, again, they have a different ecology there, but we're all smart enough to ask locally what's going on here. The National Wildlife Federation will actually allow you to put in your zip code, and they'll give you a list of plants. That's the one Doug Tallamy has encouraged and tried to get them up and running, because they kind of hit a snag somewhere along the line. Of course, NLCP, like I said, NPSOT.org, you can go to the under education, you can see the NLCP schedule for this season. We do it in seasons of spring and fall. And there's a lot of level 2 now because we've had 4 years of level 1. Yeah. Then the Pollinator Garden Recognition Program that I mentioned, and that's all my information down there at the bottom. So if anybody has a question or anything, let's take questions. And then also shoot me an email. You know, if you want to shoot me a picture of a picture, but like the infamous Floyd Waller says, don't stand there and take a picture down of your plant because you can't identify your friends by the top of their head either, can you? So no one can, right? So picture on the side, you need the leaves, helpful to have the flower, but not imperative, and location, then date and time. So there you go.
Thank you so much, Veronica. It looks like we have a question from Linda. Linda, you want to unmute?
Okay, and so she answered my question. It's the Pollinator Garden Recognition. So yeah, you're involved, your chapter and 2 other chapters are involved. I'd like to talk to our NPSOT chapter president and see if we can get involved with that as well. So I'll talk to her and we'll be in touch.
Cool, that's great.
Yeah.
It's really a cool thing because of the fact that you're in their yard and they get up, and they come out, and I said, okay, so we all know where the sun's rising, right? Where's your east? Where's your north? Oh, throw them an absolute curveball. Throw them a curveball and say, where's north? And they go, wait a minute. And they all have to go, this is my right, and then this, you know, so it's not an unusual thing because these people called you in because they're really, you know, rookies. And then what you can do is share with them that all this knowledge is as close as your cell phone. You know, it's really easy to find this information out. You know, and at least I can give you a boost, you know, and give you an idea of where to go for the information that suits you in your location. It's not easy. And also, it's just like Master Naturalist. Does everybody here have a mentor? Do you guys do that? Yes? Yeah, I see some shaking head.
Maybe unofficial, but yeah, several.
There you go. There you go. And so a lot of chapters will do that. The Hill Country chapter actually assigns a mentor to you, you know? So, and the whole thing is that for you to be able to go through that program and then bounce ideas off of people like, you know, where are they going with this? Why would I want to know grasses? Well, because this area is full of grasses, you know, and they're not turf grasses either, by the way, you know, and that's a big deal. So if you have a mentor, that works out really well. And so what you can do when you go to people's house with PGARP is you can tell them, you know, I'm here, I'm not going anywhere. When you hit a rough patch, you get mad at me because you dug up all this Bermuda grass and picked out all that root. You worked and you worked and you worked, and then you had to rest for 6 months or a year, and the Bermuda grass came back. Does that sound familiar at all? Well, I'll talk you through it, you know, because what they didn't do is they didn't plant it with something else. That's a big thing. They may not have pulled the roots out. That's another thing. And I swear I did. 50 by 20 feet. I did it. Yes, I had to go to physical therapy afterwards, but still, you know, and right now I keep killing it, and it's living under the concrete pad of my patio. And every once in a while it comes out going, you know, I'm going to get the better of it. I'm coming back, but you have to rip it out while you can. Because I have dogs, I don't want to use pesticides or herbicides on my yard. No. So all you got to do is strategize. Another one, great subject. You've all heard it, right? Deer strategy. What are we going to do about deer? Well, you know, assign your favorite hunter to a job in your neighborhood, or we out strategize them. And how do you do that? If anybody wants to write that chapter for the Native Plant Society, you will get full credit, and it will go in the NLCP class. I'll see to it. Right? So we have to kind of help each other along and deal with what we have to deal with. But chopping down trees wholesale is not the answer. And they're still doing it because they took down about 3,000 acres right around my house, 2,000 to the south and 1,000 on the west. And it's going to be subdivisions, which, okay, I live in a house too, I'm okay. But the problem is they could have left 3/4 of it, should have. But do you think the developer knows what the difference between a maple and an oak? No, they don't. You know, they don't even know the difference between a maple and an oak. So 9 times out of 10, they say, I'll tell my clients what they want. And you know, that's not going to be healthful, literally, environmentally healthful. So that's why I'm here and that's why I'm doing this. And that's why this is a really good program, I think. I really, really believe in it.
So, Veronica, you mentioned that your friend who had that beautiful house in the neighborhood and was able to incorporate all those native plants, that she was issued a summons, I guess, by the HOA.
No, by the city.
By the city.
Her neighbor called the cops on her. And it was okay because they knew who she was. And she provides a list of the plants on her property. She planted them. She knows just what they are. And they went, thank you. And that was the end of that.
Yeah. Because isn't there legislation that says that native plants are protected? Didn't they issue something?
Yeah, there are two. And I can give you the House bill numbers, but there are 2 anyway. One of them says that you may catch rainwater on your property. Why is that important? Because some people don't like that you have a gutter going into a tank. I don't know why. But anyway, you may catch rainwater. The second one is that it is not illegal to grow native plants. Yeah. That's how afraid people are of the wildscape concept. You know, they're afraid that it's wild and out of control and, oh my God, what are we gonna do? But we're gonna have to out-strategize it. We have to say, we need to leave that dormant stem, because there are native bees that she left her egg in there with a little bee bread, and that little bee is gonna metamorphose into a worm, and that worm's gonna live in that plant stem for maybe 12 months. And they're talking about maybe 24 months now. If you shred your yard, you wipe out an entire generation of that particular pollinator. So is that really what we want? I don't think we can really handle that. The other problem is that everyone talks about, we need pollinators for food, for 1 and 3 bites of food. We need it for the native plants that are giving us oxygen. They need to be pollinated too. And that's where I really encourage you to read Doug Tallamy's last book and what a keystone species is all about. It's because it provides food and habitat for so many pollinators. We are relying on them now. We are absolutely relying on them. And the more shopping malls we have, the fewer keystone species we have. Because I've never seen an oak tree that survived very well in a parking lot.
So the National Wildlife Federation link that you showed us, I think that when you do type in your zip code, it shows you the species in order of what provides the most impact. So when I typed in mine, it came up and it said goldenrod had the most impact here. And I thought that was awesome because I love goldenrod. But I love the way it has it listed in that order of what's going to give you the most impact. Jeff, you got a question?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for the presentation, Veronica. It was excellent. And I have read Doug Tallamy's Nature's Best Hope, which is everybody in the world should have to read that book. It is inspirational at the least. So the question I have for you is, like with your presentation, and I took some notes here, whether it's frostweed or blue-eyed grass or blazing star, and I decide what I want to plant, and then I got to try to find it. And that is not easy. Even with the list of all the places you go and you say, hey, do you have this? No. Do you have this? Do you have this? So do you grow from seed? What's the best way to get what you want when a lot of times the nurseries, even the best nurseries that have native plants, do not have what you want?
Well, since 2000, when I first started volunteering for the Native Plant Society, it was in Georgia, people who belong to the Native Plant Society have always tried to address that statement. And what we did was we've done a lot of things like encouraging nurseries to grow natives. And some chapters have actually created signs for the plant itself that said native pollinator friendly plant, things like that. Growing plants, all plants, is a specialty, just like native plants are a specialty to master naturalists, right? So you could be a specialist in identification of native plants, but you need to be another kind of specialist with growing them, which is why I have absolute reverence for the people who grow them and provide them to the native plant chapters. You can put your, you can go to Google and put in there native plant sales near me, and you can get a list of the native plants that are, the native plant chapters that are providing native plants. There's a lot of camaraderie, right, with chapters and native plant, or rather nature centers, because you can use it as a fundraiser, but more important, we don't even see it as using it as a fundraiser. Most of that money was donated to the nature center, but what we see it as our chance to explain to people what it takes to do this. And I'm not saying, you know, I'm not missing your question. Your question is that how do you start growing from seed specifically? And I can tell you that the specialists are generally the people that provide those seeds. And so go to Native American Seed. It's called, I think their website is called seedsource.com, and look around and get a catalog from them, because their catalog not only shows the pictures of the plant for identification purposes, it'll give you all the data on where you should plant it, etc. And then they talk about, thank you, ma'am, Denise has got it going on. And they'll also look in there and look in the very back. It shows how to actually plant seeds, and they give you you know, those great tidbits. These are the great tidbits that we share with out at PGART site visits. We say things like seed to soil contact is imperative. There you go. And it shows you that you have to push the seed into the soil, but you don't even bother to cover it up. So many people, that's the biggest mistake they make, is planting a seed way too deep, and it dies underneath there, and then you have to wait for erosion, and then maybe it'll be part of the seed bank that comes up in the future, whatever. We need you to succeed. We need you to succeed fast, but we need you to understand that we're on plant time now, and plant time is way slower than us. So it takes, for those pollinator garden pictures that I showed you, years to create something that healthful. What they probably did with a lot of them is they waited till the plant became mature, and then they planted them in there and took a picture, you know? So if you go in any of those magazines, you know, especially those real pretty magazines that, you know, show you pictures and stuff, you know that not only did they get a close-up and see, you can't, if I sit back in my chair, you can't really see me. I don't know if you can hear me, but anyway, you know, distance matters, right? And they're very strategic about how they take pictures. And they also make it sound like, next week, you can do this. But I go to these people's house and I said, I hate to break it to you. It's gonna take some time. Yes, you should have started yesterday. When's the best time to fall? When's the best time to plant? Is fall. When's the second best time to plant? Last fall. Right, get there. You can't really get there. So the point is that I'm staying here. I'm not going anywhere. I'll guide you through it. I'll help you out. I'll answer questions. Text me. I have one beekeeper who keeps texting me every week and asking me, what's this? What's this? And she always picks plants I don't know. It's, you know, my luck. But anyway, so there's a lot of people out there that know it. And that's really what I wanted to let you all know today, is that you got a great support system in Sam Houston and in Pine and
Prairie.
Prairies is brand new, isn't it?
It's about a year.
Oh,
Yeah.
yay.
Yes, it's very exciting.
Absolutely. We all have to become sort of specialists because, like, if I feel so bad for people in Houston, they don't know whether they're tropical, what's native. They can grow whatever they want, whenever they want. It's really great. And then they come up to the hill country and they go, well, why can't I grow that? And it's basically because you don't live in Houston. It's simple, you know, but they don't know that when they get here, and they buy stuff and they buy pansies in May and they don't live, you know. So we're here to help them out through that and prevent them from making mistakes so that they can get a fuller garden faster.
So Melissa has a question. Melissa, you want to unmute?
I don't have a question, but you know, and some of the others know that I've done seeds the last couple of years, and I just did a quarter of a plat of Native American seed butterfly retreat, and then I did botanical interest and burpee to see which did better, you know. And last year during the freeze, right before the freeze, I planted 2 packs of botanical interest, save the bees, botanical interest, butterfly, and they actually froze. I had painter's cloth over them and they came back and they were beautiful. Some of y'all that have me on Facebook know that those plants did so amazing. But it's work. Seeds are a little bit of work. And that's been like my challenge this entire last 2 years is the seeds. And I just planted 1,600 square feet of seeds, and they're starting to come up and they're starting to do amazing. And if you get the botanical interest seeds, and a lot of the local nurseries sell them, like Enchanted Gardens or Arbor Gate or any of those specialty nurseries like that, you can just throw them out.
What do you call that at Arbor Gate? What was it? What was this? Something seeds? What kind of seeds?
Botanical interest. And they're called Save the Bees and Butterfly. There's a butterfly pack. And if you email me, is this Jeff? I will send you a picture of them.
Okay.
And anyway, those seeds come up rather quickly and they do really well. And they also this year, I did not reseed that area to see what would happen. They reseeded themselves. The zinnias are coming up. The borage is coming up. The tick seed is coming up. Everything is coming up. And I didn't have to do anything. But the thing is, can you live with it? If you're OCD, you may not be able to live with that. But, you know, I can live with it. I'm not, this is in my backyard, so the HOA can't see it.
Melissa, did you like dust those in or how did you do that?
I did. What I did with that particular group was I laid them out and then I covered them with a very light soil, because seeds, the rule with seeds is that you can only cover them the size that they are. Like if a seed is an inch big, then you can only cover it in an inch of soil. So you can only dust them in. But the group that I added, the 1,600 square feet, I made like seed bombs, and me and my grandson just kind of chunked them out and we watered them in. And if anybody wants to come over and see my mess, you're welcome to. But it's coming up, and I have monarchs everywhere. I have monarchs, I have pipevine swallowtails, and I have eastern black swallowtails everywhere.
Very cool.
I want to come see. I want your address.
Yeah. You'll have to book a time when I'm not at work, but I will gladly bring you over here. I just brought a preschool group through the yard.
Well, I'm just like a preschool group.
And they love it.
Melissa.
I'm giving away caterpillars right now.
Oh, good. Melissa, something else that another thing that you can do is you mentioned that you use painter cloth to cover them up in the winter.
When it snowed.
Yeah. Don't forget, like especially extended cold, like hurricane or like Storm Uri was long. You can use like Christmas lights. Put it underneath, to keep it warm, because you're only warming a small height, you know.
After the Storm Uri, we learned a lot. I looked up all the nurseries up north, and I learned that they take bales of hay and cover everything very deeply, you know, really thick before a storm like that.
Writing it down.
Yeah, bales of hay.
Because that's what this is really just recommendations, you know?
Yeah, we all wanted to learn how they survive the cold because we're in Texas. We're like, what? And I'm like, well, other people have nurseries up north. How do they survive the winter? How do they preserve their plants? And I love the garden answer. She's a really good, and she's in Oregon. But learning that they cover their stuff with hay, bales of hay, you know, they take it apart, of course, and just layer it really thick to protect their stuff during something like Uri. Would protect our stuff here in Texas.
We have more questions coming in. Susan, what did you want to ask? Thanks, Melissa.
This wasn't a question. I just wanted to give a plug for the native plant sale that Pines and Prairies is going to have on April 23rd. If you get on our Facebook page or our website, all the information is there. And there are a lot of native plants that I would never think of growing from seed or any other thing, but they're there.
Awesome, awesome. We do have information about that in one of the previous slides. And I think that I might have shared that flyer on the Heartwood Facebook page also. I'll go and share it again so everyone will have the address. Let's see, who else? I think Linda, did you have your hand up still?
Yes, ma'am, I have, and we're out of time, so I'll be quick. So 2 things. If you're on Facebook, there is a group called Texas Native Plant and Seed Exchange. And they're a great resource. You put your request up there and your area, and you get a hit or you don't get a hit. I have a ton of plants that I have to put in the ground of frog fruit that I got from someone in Kingwood, and she was willing to just dig it up for me. It's like, oh, thank you. And some Turk's cap too. Second, and that's Texas Native Plant and Seed Exchange. And then Carolyn, I wanted to ask you real quick, Carolyn Langlanay, you were talking about a website that was mentioned. I was a bad note taker this session.
With the National Wildlife Federation, nwf.org, and there's a link to one of their pages, and it was on Veronica's one of her last slides. This is being recorded, so you'll be able to look back and see. I'll add it to our YouTube channel. You'll be able to look back and see what the full address is, the URL is for that. But the Native Wildlife, you've got it right there, Native Wildlife Federation. So nwf.org. And Teresa, you're muted. Denise, you're muted, darling. What is the rest of it? There's a specific part of that actually will take you to the where you put in your zip code.
I think it was /gardens.
Okay, awesome. And you just type in your zip code and it'll come up with the plants that will do the most good for your area. And it has them listed in that order. So the ones that attract the most caterpillars, the most pollinators. And that's why in 77382, where I live, it was goldenrod. And who would think of putting goldenrod in their yard? I will put it in my backyard behind the pool. That's a perfect place for it. Yeah, Veronica, I know you would.
Thank you.
Would. So, yeah. Yeah, Sharon, did you have a question? You would too, huh? Yeah, Sharon says she would put goldenrod in her yard too. I am too, but it's going to go in the backyard. So that way I don't get turned into the police. That's right.
You just need a plant list. That's all.
That's
all you gotta do is jot down a bunch of plants and say, see, I know what I'm doing.
I know what I'm doing.
It's okay.
I know what I'm doing. And I've taken the NLCP course #1, which our Pines and Prairies has put on. They've had 2 so far. Even though they're just a year old, they've had 2 classes so far. It's been wonderful. So for tonight, guys, we had 0.5 for our chapter business. So when you go into VMS and start recording this, it's 0.5 for chapter business. And then it's 1 hour for advanced training. So, and Veronica, thank you so much for joining us this evening. It was so great to hear from you. could you stick around for a little longer? There's some questions I wanted to ask you about the PGARP.
Okay, sure, no problem. Well, thank you all for coming and thank you for having me.
Awesome.
Thank you, Veronica. It was awesome.
Thank you.
Hey,
Yeah.
Carolyn, on